Maybe.
You give him a big kiss on the mouth.
This is PTR Radio.
Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of PTR Radio here on the fabulous interweb. Another Monday. Back on a Monday. What a great, weird, interesting day it's been. Okay, that is just stellar. Don't know why the hell it's done that now all of a sudden. Anyway,
What?
Nothing. Just the bar cam is having a problem all of a sudden. All of a sudden, you know how when it's not, when it goes to that slideshow, when suddenly you see this, when it goes, to this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started to do that. Even though I swear that it shouldn't. So who knows what's going to happen when I actually go out there. I'd love to tell one of the assistant producers or one of the remote cameramen to fix that, but there aren't any. They don't exist. So it'd be great, but they're figments of our imagination who work for scale, and therefore we can't afford them. So,
Well, I think what you're going to have to start doing, Shaggy, is you're going to have to start pre-recording that segment.
I could, but then where would the joy be? Because I just have to sit here and take all your abuse.
I think you could abuse yourself then.
I guess I could. I suppose I could do that.
Where's the problem in this, though?
I don't know. Anyway, this is PTR Radio. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can chat with us at PTR Radio on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all the popular channels. Mike will be watching out for those, and you can get your 5 minutes of fame or 15 seconds of fame by popping up the notice on the little stream. And by the way, speaking of Twitch, I have gotten better at Dirt 4. I have been practicing. I have actually.
Which one is Dirt 4? That's the driving.
That's the driving game. And I have not been using a wheel, Mike. I have just been using an Xbox controller.
All right, so it's funny you mention that because I broke down because it was a deal of the day. So I got a controller.
Yeah, it looks very similar to my Chinese knockoff Xbox controller. So I am open to figuring out which game. I'm okay with the driving game.
It's funny because I was actually looking today at some old school, like, first-person shooter type games that are not necessarily open world.
Okay.
And Quake 3 Arena came up.
Okay.
Which is kind of like, it's multiplayer, it's everybody shoots, you can pick your own character, but you are confined to specific arenas.
Okay. Yeah,
But,
and I mean that's one of those. Yeah, that's a shoot 'em up game. It's relatively inexpensive considering it's 20 years old at this point. So yeah, 20. That's us. That is us. I mean, if they made Pong, internet connected Pong, we would play that. But is there 4-person Pong? There should be. If there isn't, there should be. But somebody make that. We came up with the idea, so we get 10%. But I want 4-person multiplayer online Pong. All right? If it's not a thing already, make it a thing and pay us for the idea. Because I think that could be a cool thing.
question.
Yes, go ahead.
Why 4?
Because there's 4 sides to a box.
Yeah, but there's 3 sides to a triangle.
Okay, well, we could do up to 8, and we could have octagon Pong. But, I'm just saying. Pong.
Okay.
Pong. Duodecagon Pong. 3-dimensional Pong. Wouldn't that be cool?
You are out. Now you're out your ever-loving mind.
4th-dimensional Pong. Now you decide when to take a shot.
So I just like this is. I have 1,162 games on Steam.
And Dirt 4 is probably not one of them.
I have Dirt 3, Dirt Rally, Dirt Showdown. I have no version of Quake.
No version of. I have no version. Sorry. There is online Pong. There is multiplayer online Pong. God. We could actually make this a real Twitch channel by playing a game. Anyway, all right. Well, Colin, I hate to tell you this, but if we decided to play Quake, Arena plus Team Arena. Oh, look, there's a CD. Does that include online access, Mike?
Does it? Let's see.
I don't know. I don't know if that includes online access.
I do not know. Yeah.
Well, the good news is Quake 3 Arena is only $7.50. So it's not like it's a.
And I mean, this is if,
no. Wait,
this is if we wanted to
it's
do
a single.
fighting. That's
It says it's a single player game, Mike.
Quake 3 Arena was a single player. No, there was. I thought there was a multi.
Oh, there's a multiplayer, but I think that's network multiplayer only. I don't think it's online multiplayer.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's for like LAN parties. You remember
damn
those?
No,
I never went to one. I bet Colin.
I never
went
had
to,
a computer small enough to take to a LAN party.
I bet Colin went to LAN parties.
Yes, before I met you, we had one LAN party at my first job, and we didn't get very many games played. For one thing, we all had giant computers. And for another thing, by the time everybody else managed to get their machines put together, they were too drunk to play the games.
Well, that was the decade of big computers, though, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that
All
was
computers were giant.
That was the decade of, do I go with a mid-size case or a full-size case? Am I going to have only 2 CD-ROM drives, or am I going to have 2 CD-ROM drives, a 3.5, and a zip drive? So I need 4 bays.
Yeah,
that's when the 3D card was a separate card from the video card.
That's when you needed a separate sound card as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know. And that's when your monitor was a CRT. You know, no such thing as flat screens back then. So bringing your computer around to people's houses involved a dolly most of the time. See, you kids today, you got it out so easy. You know,
listen, the
with your
closest thing
ITXs.
I've ever come to with doing like a LAN party was in a hotel in Virginia where 4 geeks shared a room with one little 5-port switch connected to a Wi-Fi hotspot that was across the bay because we didn't want to pay for access at the hotel.
We were too cheap to pay, what, the $20?
Luckily, we were high enough up that we were getting a signal. And we used it to share our vast library of episodes from the former network that we were all on.
Yes. And did none of us think to bring a Pringles can antenna? Because that was the era of Pringles can Wi-Fi antennas.
No, we're lucky that somebody thought to bring a switch. I think that was me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what the hell the switch did at that point. I just knew I had one.
Well, and that was when I remember that trip well, because I had to buy a new laptop like 2 days before that trip. And oh boy, was the wife pissed.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's when you got your 64-bit goodness.
Yes. Yes, I do.
remember that because not long after I got the same laptop.
Ugh. And that just, man, that was a killer. It was a very expensive laptop at the time.
So that laptop actually got passed down. When I finished using it, I gave it to Kim's mom when I got a new machine. And when her mom passed, I reformatted it again and gave it to one of her neighbors up there to use to get online with.
Mm-hmm.
So that as far as I know, that laptop may still be kicking.
I think I used it so much I had to get a new hinge. I broke the hinge on it and had to have one fabricated.
So for those, just real quick, because we're getting a little bit deep into the geek well here. This Shaggy and I were talking about one of the first commercial laptops that had an AMD 64-bit processor.
It was a Turon, wasn't it? I think.
I gotta look it up.
Was the name of it? I don't remember, but yeah, it was the first AMD 64-bit.
I thought it might have been an Athlon, actually.
Yeah, maybe it was.
No, I'm sorry. The first was the AMD 64.
Oh yeah, it was just 64.
And the Athlon 64, I guess, came after that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a beast.
Or it was the Opteron.
Regardless, it was a beast of a processor that had almost no battery life because it just chewed through batteries.
That would be because it
wasn't. Well,
first of all,
basically a desktop chip that they put in a laptop.
I think so. But it didn't even have 64-bit Windows at the time.
Yeah.
So really, there wasn't a whole. There was not a whole. The first AMD-based processor was the Opteron, and that was released in April 2003. So I gotta believe the second one was the Athlon 64. So I gotta believe that ours was either an Opteron or an Athlon 64.
But I think ours was the AMD Turion 64 mobile, maybe, because that was the first mobile 64. Either that or the Turon 64X2.
The Turion was a low power consumption. There's no way in hell that our laptops were low power.
Oh, no. But anyway, you could kill somebody with this laptop. It was so heavy. It was really not a laptop. And, it was nuts. It was almost as nuts as a trip Colin and I went on where this is pure geekdom, right? Before Wi-Fi was a thing, we tried to exchange files between two moving vehicles using IR.
Yeah. But, and by try, we mean completely and utterly fail.
Yeah, because it would not work.
There was no way that this would have worked. I think it was during the day, so the sun was just going to completely overpower it.
Yeah, we forgot the sun existed when we thought of this brilliant idea. You know,
this was also around the time that in order to run a GPS in your car, you had a USB GPS receiver.
Oh, yeah.
And you had to have the CD in your laptop drive. I know this because I used it, that exact configuration, to drive from New Jersey to West Virginia in order to help Sloan move from West Virginia to Albany.
Because it was myself, previous co-host Nate, and Dune Jumper, and we kind of got sidetracked on the way to this event, and so Dune decided he did not want to get lost going back home, so he bought that GPS system, and so on the way back, which was, thank God, because on the way back going through West Virginia, several semi-trucks, and I mean like half a dozen semi-trucks, must have, jackknifed on the different detour routes that they gave. We ended up hearing banjos at one point. That's how in the hills we were. It was ridiculous, the number of detours we ended up making. We really thought that we saw people that had like a good tooth, and that's it. So we were a little bit scared because Dune has a purty mouth, you know, and Nate and I, no, neither one of us felt like squealing like a piggy. So, but that was eons ago. To give you an idea, the laptop that Mike and I are talking about used DDR memory, not DDR2 or DDR3 or the newer DDR4, but just DDR, you know, OG DDR. So, but no,
nobody listening knows what we're talking about now.
No, not a
We
clue.
have gone deep into the rabbit hole on this one. So,
yeah.
Here, let me. I have a little bit of a tale to say. So last Wednesday, I got my second shot.
Mm-hmm.
My second dose, right? Literally 12 hours after my shot. Mind you, I got Moderna. My wife got the same thing. The next day, she was just exhausted, so she slept most of the day. 12 hours after I got my shot, I began to sweat. A lot. They didn't tell me that sweating was a potential side effect. Sweating, yes, to the point where I had to get up and change my T-shirt.
Oh.
So at 2 a.m. because I started sweating. The next morning, I said, no, I don't feel right. I'm achy. I took my temperature. When I woke up, I had a 100.4 temperature.
Oh, geez.
I said, okay. By 4 o'clock, my temperature was up to 102.2, maybe, 102.3.
So a radio station, basically.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I went to bed at 4 o'clock.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I told my boss, I said, listen, the second shot's doing its thing. I got to go.
Listen, it's early bird at the Sizzler. I got to grab my dinner and then head to bed because it's late.
I woke up the next day and it felt fine, but I had to wash my pillows because my pillow was basically like a sponge throughout the night. But yeah, my arm just now is finally starting to feel right. My shoulder was jacked up. I did not expect to have this kind of reaction to this damn shot.
Now, you don't have a memory foam pillow, do you? Because it may have PTSD.
I have my pillow. I have a my pillow. So
you have a my pillow?
Yes.
Your my pillow.
So there are knives and hatchets in
election lives. It lies.
I can't believe he's still trying to perpetrate that. I caught a clip of him on YouTube. I thought it was old. No, it was from last week. He was on Jimmy Kimmel talking about how he's got the evidence about the Dominion voting machines. And Jimmy asked him, why would they come to you, a pillow guy, former crackhead, with this information? And Mike Lindell's trying to tell him, it's because I listen. Well, guess what? Gary Busey listens to people too. I didn't see him going to him.
Well, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's, despite the $1.3 billion lawsuit the company has filed against him.
He claims he's got proof. Whatever. A lot of people claim they got stuff.
Yeah. My Pillow CEO holding rally at Corn Palace. Yet, why do they hold rallies at weird places? You know, landscaping companies.
Store. I don't know. Yeah, landscaping company. That's it.
Corn palaces. You know, I don't know. Anyway.
All right. So all right. So since we kind of breached the topic.
Yeah.
By me talking about vaccinations, let's just jump right into it. I haven't hated ourselves yet today. I haven't hated myself yet today. Let's just jump into this whole vaccine passport bullshit.
Okay. So,
all right.
Yeah, it's an interesting topical subject that is getting a lot of news. That's why we're talking about it, not because of any personal interest in the subject or personal involvement in the subject. Let me clarify that statement. All right, everybody.
I have to be upfront and be for the record here that if vaccine passports actually become a thing, Butterstown Gifts will be selling personalized passport covers and holders for you.
Yeah. So there is some profitability in this.
That's about the extent of my involvement.
But
by selling these covers, it does not imply that we support nor are we against the idea. We're just trying to sell you some shit, okay?
That's right. You're just
buymyshit.com was not available.
You're just
somebody got it.
You're just a conduit for First Amendment, right? you So
I just want to make money.
So if you want a hat that says "Passport My Ass," Butterstown Gifts and Creations might make that.
Might.
I didn't say will. I said might. What if they're a donkey farm? Then would you make it? Because it would be technically accurate. Passport my ass.
Perhaps.
Okay. With the animal lover in your wife would have to make it, I think.
And there's a huge difference between making something for somebody and actually stocking it and having it listed on your store as something someone can buy.
Yeah, that might be a customer testimonial that doesn't make it onto the website.
Well, listen. I figured out where the money's going to be if these things become legit. The money's going to be selling the patterns for people to make hand-stitched vaccine passports, like how your mom and your sisters they have their Etsy stores making the masks. Well, if everyone is vaccinated and we got herd immunity and the mask mandates are lifted, they're going to have fabric left over, so they can come to me for $5 and buy the pattern, and that's where I'm going to make my money. I'm going to be behind the scenes. It's like selling templates.
Yeah, but what if the masks don't go away? What if we, during the summer, of course,
what if we start to adopt them as normal?
Well,
that's not going to happen.
Especially, it's if you feel like maybe you have a cold coming on, it becomes the socially responsible thing to put a mask on.
You assume
spring flu season.
You assume that people are going to be socially responsible. That ain't going to happen. This is America, goddammit. We have rights here. We don't have to be socially responsible.
No, the general idea, I think, honestly, is going to be
respect my freedom.
The big question here is if you're vaccinated and you have the majority of your population is vaccinated, why do we have to continue with the precautions like no one is vaccinated? That's the issue. I get it. There are going to be people that are going to say, I am still going to wear a mask or a face cover because it makes me feel safe. Fine.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is against that. But for the government to continue to say, great job, we got vaccines in the arms of so many Americans, now you only got to wear one mask instead of 4. There will be a civil war, the likes of which you have never seen, okay? The Marvel Universe would not have dreamt up something of this scale if that were the message that were to come out.
Yeah. No, I'm not looking at government mandates for masks. I'm just saying, what if we just keep wearing the mask? Or some people keep wearing the masks.
Yeah, ugly people. Ugly people is what you're saying. Ugly people should keep wearing masks.
I get it.
That's what Colin says.
I would say I'm not going to wear a mask during the summer, but when, fall comes back and it's cold again, and people are walking around coughing a lot, I might consider going ahead and putting a mask back on.
Okay.
The question is, are you going to be looked at?
When it gets cold, colder, that's called a scarf. See.
Well, I think that's an interesting thing to ask, though, because Colin, you make a point. At this point, we have desensitized stores in certain places from people being covered, right, having their face covered. Well, if we go to, hey, it's not required anymore, is it then your right to wear a mask? Because let's say, pre-COVID, it wasn't cool to stroll up to the teller at a bank with a mask on and say, yes, I'd like my money, please. Right? Now, post-COVID, I don't know how cool that's going to be if everybody else isn't wearing masks and you stroll up, you know? And maybe you think you're cool, so you do finger guns at them. Boom, boom. Hey, I want my money. Somehow I think that might be
a situation like
that's
that.
Bad.
I honestly, I think the difference there, yes, if you want to wear one in, that's fine. But once you get up to the teller, who's behind glass anyway, normally.
Not always.
And that probably won't go away.
I think that might just be a New Jersey thing. We're not thugs, so our tellers are right there in front of us. We can see them.
Some banks, like credit unions, they're not. They don't have glass, but other ones they do. But I could see them asking people once you're not in line to please pull down your mask if there's a barrier there. I could understand that. This way they can verify. Think about it. Your driver's license right now is worthless.
Yeah. I don't have my picture taken.
I was thinking about it. I picked up an order from BJ's before the show today, right? And they brought it out to my car, and they said, I need to see your ID. So I put my finger across my face on my driver's license and said, here, this way you know it's me.
It's about as good as, like...
And it just so happens that the girl recognized me because, I have the unique face covers. So the supervisor who brought it out, she's like, oh, are you waiting for me, Mike? I said, wait a minute. How do you know my name? Oh, that's right. It's on the order. Okay. But no, when you think about it, they ask you to see ID. What are you going to, unless you.
Yeah.
So I think that's reasonable. No, I get. Yeah. So this all stemmed from.
Well, I'm just thinking.
A news article that came out.
I'm not going to make the nope. It's a nope. It's an ethnocentric joke. Probably not good.
Isn't it?
Don't do it. I'm gonna rip cord.
Okay. So this all stemmed from an article that came out earlier that Governor DeSantis, who is, can we call him young Trump? Because I feel like that's what he's trying to be. He's just like a younger version of Trump. He's Trump Jr. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he signed an executive order in April banning vaccine passports. And that applies to, among other things, cruise lines.
Right, but because this came up, the actual thing he banned, and is a state law that was signed, is you cannot do vaccine. What's the other word you used? I'm sorry.
Verification. Oh, you can't ask for verification.
You cannot do vaccine verification. The passport word is not actually in the rules.
According to his executive order issued on April 2nd, here's exactly what the three details are. The order bans any government entity from issuing vaccine passports and prevents businesses from requiring any such documentation of consumers. 2. Mr. DeSantis pointed to freedom of privacy and concerns as the main reason for the executive order, claiming that implementing and enforcing vaccine passports would, quote, create two classes of citizens based on vaccinations. 3. The governor's order claims that many Floridians have not yet been offered the opportunity to get a vaccine, and others may be unable to because of health, religious, or other reasons. So those are the 3 points in the executive order.
Right. So the executive order does say passports. Good, I couldn't find that one. The state law that's coming in after that just says verification. So both words, as buzzy as they are being used in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the problem. Well, the two things. The article also stems because Norwegian Cruise Line has said that it's going to stop sailing out of Florida ports if the state doesn't allow it to verify COVID-19 vaccinations.
Right.
Yep.
So this is where it gets kind of slippery when I started to think about it. Because, yeah, you know what? They could go to another coastal state. Ports could probably, they could reschedule and what have you. But the issue here is if they're crossing into any other, or if they're going to international waters, I think, Colin, you stated, like if they're going somewhere else that requires you to be vaccinated, to me, this is no different than if you are traveling on an airline and the country you're going to requires proof of vaccination. The same way coming in.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think that is different is the airlines are governed, those regulations are governed by the FAA, which is a federal organization, whereas the cruise industry is not.
Right. So, good example here. So, Icelandic Air, who was one of the first international airlines to open back up and one of the first countries to allow visitors in, they said you must have proof of vaccination in order to fly on the airline to Iceland. All right. That was one of their requirements for entering the country. Okay. They also said, but you cannot use Iceland as a point of entry into the EU, who was still completely locked down regardless of proof of vaccination.
Okay, so you
because
could
a lot
not
of people
do a
would
connecting
hopscotch
flight kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, because people were trying to do that, and they're like, no, we're not going to create a back door into Europe. So that was one of the things that they had to do. Now, here, since he specifically says and prevents businesses from requiring any such documentation of consumers, he is saying that as a business within the state of Florida, the ports would not be able to, any shipping coming in and going out wouldn't be able to make that a requirement of the passengers. Now, there's plenty of other states that would love to have that visitor travel into their city, because nobody flies into, very few people, I would think, fly into a city the day of their departure for a cruise. I would think a lot of people maybe fly in the day before, or on their return, they stay that night and then fly out the next day. So there's a ton of tourism dollars involved here, which I would think any state would be happy to have.
Well, normally for cruises, I would agree. Unless you are one of these suckers that gets on a cruise out of Bayonne, New Jersey. Because let me just tell you, there really ain't, that's not a town that you want to spend the night in.
Yeah.
Period.
Now, I will say, Florida is not the only one. There are 18 states which have given a stance on vaccine passports or vaccine identification, and I can run through them here. This was last updated on May 6th. So Arizona has issued an executive order prohibiting all state and local governments from requiring people to prove their COVID-19 vaccination status to receive services or enter an area. The ban, however, does not apply to private businesses and healthcare institutions. California is not pursuing a mandatory COVID-19 vaccination passport, but will work with the private sector to monitor the development.
Okay, hang on. I'd like you to. So you said, who was the first one? Arizona.
Arizona. Yep, we're going in alphabetical order.
Okay. Republican. Right. I just want to see how many of these are red states. So go ahead.
So California is not pursuing. So, all right.
Blue state.
So, Connecticut is still up in the air regarding mandatory COVID-19 vaccine passports.
Connecticut is blue.
Despite the governor's claims that the state would begin conversations on the topic, the governor said he does expect some type of passport or validation, probably led by the private sector. Florida, we already talked about. Georgia, Governor Brian Kemp tweeted his opposition April 6th to any kind of state-mandated vaccine passport, writing, "While the development of multiple safe, highly effective COVID-19 vaccines have been a scientific miracle, the decision to receive the vaccine should be left up to each individual." Hawaii said April 5th that the state is testing the tech needed to support a vaccine passport, but it won't be ready for another 4 weeks or so. Idaho banned any state and government entities from requiring vaccine passports for residents to receive public services or access facilities.
I just realized, so you're reading a list of stance pro or con.
Yes. They're not necessarily.
Okay,
so some of these are yes, some of them are no. Illinois, Illinois Pritzker said he thinks a vaccination app would be useful, but should not be mandatory to enter any facility, stressing that the tech would be offered as a personal choice. But that was back on March 24th. We don't have any updates since then. Iowa pledged on April 7th that his state will oppose vaccine passports legislatively or as an executive level, as she believes it violates personal choice. Louisiana has not decided on any passport programs in the state, referring to it being a little early in the process to know how these vaccine verifications would actually work. Montana, so basically that's on the fence. Montana issued an executive order prohibiting the use of vaccine passports. Nebraska will not participate in any vaccine initiatives, saying that it's a violation of the two central tenets of American system, which is freedom of movement and healthcare privacy. North Carolina said his administration is exploring development of a passport. New York became the first state to launch a COVID-19 vaccine passport. We talked about that before, dubbed Excelsior Pass. By the way, for those interested, that was developed by IBM. You know, big data. Pennsylvania.
Watson.
Senators on May 6th introduced legislation that would ban the state from requiring vaccine passports.
Yeah, you know, I was trying to see if there was a correlation between party and stance, and the way that this article is explaining it, no.
I think most of these are opposition, wait and see, undecided.
Well, that's just it. Like the undecided and the wait and see seem to lean towards, yeah, we're going to do something. The exception being New York, because you know, Fredo, he don't give a damn. He's like,
New York said, "Yep, we done it. We're first," and that's what is interesting is that it always takes one to fall to do it, and then others start to fall in line until the first one does it. Then nobody thinks about it. Nobody wants to be the first one, but once the first one goes, then sometimes it is a slippery slope. So there's a question about, okay, who's going to be number 2? Who will be the next one?
it better not be Governor Murphy, because listen, this guy, I don't know why I watch him, his briefings and stuff sometime, because it just boggles my mind.
Yeah, I mean, we do talk about privacy and everything for often here, and it does bother me a little bit. This seems like a bit much. I don't know.
I don't. Go ahead, Colin, because you'll probably be a little more eloquent than I am.
So I'll just say, when it comes to normal everyday things, I think it's dangerous to allow people's medical records to become something that you're carrying around all the time and using to get into places. But a cruise ship is something under a completely different thing.
It's a self-contained biome, right?
It's a self-contained biome, and it is something they need to control better just for safety. And more importantly, and that's the reason this is coming up, is according to the rules that the federal government's coming up with to allow the cruise ships to begin operating again, they have to have a percentage of others vaccinated. So they have to be able to prove that.
So, but, however, like Icelandic Air, that could just be looking at a paper verification. It doesn't have to be digital. Icelandic Air I was reading about the first Icelandic Air passenger, and he said, I was curious if my paper verification was going to be enough. He goes, so I called the airlines. They said, yes, it should be. But then I was questioning on the flight if I would be let into the country or if I was just going to have to stay in the terminal and they were going to turn my butt around and send me back to the U.S. He goes, I happened to be sitting next to the vice president of Icelandic Air on the flight. He goes, don't ask me how that happened, but it happened. And he goes, oh, no, that's exactly what we were thinking when we did this policy, was we just want to see the paper. Now, there are problems with that theory, as we have seen in the news, because there are people falsifying those records.
Well, yeah. So this is the other issue that I have had with all of these regulations and all of these. My big issue with Governor Murphy is every time we reach the end zone that he previously stated for reopening some more, the goalpost moves. And this is not unique to him, all right? I'm sure this happens elsewhere as well. And I'm sure there is some kind of logic behind it. The problem here is there has not been a single goalpost that has not been moved. Now, I just completely forgot what I was going to say because I was so pissed off at Murphy. Good Lord. I had a point, but I'm just so aggravated with this guy.
There are some goalposts that have moved, and they have to move because they're scientific based. And when Fauci goes on and says, "Okay, we've now figured this thing out, so this thing's going to have to be here, and this is going to be then," that's fine. But we have politicians just making things up and then changing and making it up. It was never based on anything in the first place. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn it, now I forgot. So, about Fauci, real quick. So, the thing with Fauci, in February, he was telling everybody that we should be back to normal pre-COVID life by Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At least in New Jersey, and I could pull up the graph because I've been recording it myself. Since February, the 7-day average for everything has been going down. Fauci comes out today and says, no, I think by Mother's Day next year.
I think there are two different things.
No, these are he's talking about the exact same. He's talking about getting back to normal pre-COVID life. In less than
I think
2
he's saying December medically back. He was saying by the time we get to Mother's Day next year, everything should look and feel exactly as it is now, as it used to.
That is what he said about Christmas in February.
I don't know. I'll look it up to see exactly what he said back in Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, and the question is, what is normal?
So this is the other problem with Murphy. Okay, this is where I was going. So the goalposts keep moving, and he keeps saying like data determines dates. Okay, the data over the past 2 weeks, independent data analysts who have been tracking the data put out on the public dashboard every day, manually inputting numbers so that they have a record. In the past 2 weeks, over 16,000 cases have been deleted from New Jersey's positive count. This cases that have been verified as having illness onset of over a year ago have been reported as new today. New cases to the CDC helps determine the Cali score, which is determining whether or not schools should stay remote or reopen or hybrid or what have you. That Cali score staying high, most of New Jersey schools have been full remote. So when you look at it holistically with all the data deletions and all the old cases being dumped, it is very hard not to think that the government is manipulating these numbers for whatever reason.
Well,
you expect some lag in testing. You expect some lag in dates and what have you. Not to this extent. So it's very hard to trust what the government is saying. And then when you have the CDC changing their guidance saying, it's, 3 feet outdoors, 6 feet outdoors, wear a mask, wear 2 masks. I have a hard time trying to determine what exactly is the truth. And I know I'm not the only one. I'm sure
I wear
the whole reason.
I wear 6 masks and 3 rubbers just in case every day. I mean, you have to be safe today in today's world. It makes peeing a little harder, but isn't your health worth it?
Okay, as near as I can tell, what Fauci said is, well, Biden said everything should be back to normal by Christmas. Fauci said that Christmas itself might be back to normal, meaning that we can get back together as families and not have to worry about how many people are in the house to have Christmas. But he didn't. But he pushed further into 2022 for the everything is normal all across the board. So I think this Mother's Day guess by Fauci is his actual first guess to say that is when everything is back to normal.
Okay.
But, like I said, Biden said everything's going to be normal by Christmas, probably taking what Fauci said about Christmas being back to normal. But yeah. I agree in general that, yeah. My point is that people are taking this goalpost thing and using that as their own thing that they're complaining about at the moment. And some of it is real, and some of it actually isn't. But let me take a step back here before we get on to other stuff. I just wanted to say real quick for anybody who really hasn't looked much at cruising, and I've looked way too much at cruising lately. So, a cruise ship itself is controlled by its flag state, okay? So when you're on the cruise ship, you're actually under the laws of Norway for some of the Norwegian ships, but mostly it's like Bahamas. So the flag of that ship is where you are. When you get on a cruise ship, you have to go through TSA security, just like you do in an airport. And the area after TSA, before you get on the ship, that is customs territory. So you are outside of the territory of the United States at that point. You're definitely outside of the jurisdiction of the state that you're in. So when you actually go on that gangplank to get onto that ship that's operating under the laws of the Bahamas, it's hard to say that the governor of any state can or can't say who or that ship can't allow on. So minimum I would go for is that the ship can say, okay, fine, we have to let you on because the owner of the dock says we have to. So come on, go stand over there in that area. And then we sail 25 miles, and then we put you on a tender and send you back.
Okay. So I think what I'm hearing is really the governor doesn't have the authority to make that call.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just that the governor...
The call does not apply to the cruise ships because of what you just said there. There's that buffer zone. So the TSA, which is federal,
yes,
similar to how the FAA is, the TSA in that buffer zone can ask for vaccine verification.
Yes, if the CDC told the TSA that they need to check for a vaccine, some piece of paper to say someone's vaccinated, to let them through security to a cruise ship, then I guess they could take them to federal court and say that they don't want that to happen, but that's the most they could do. Okay. And that's why I thought a lot of the other cruise companies are just saying, fine, you can pass that law, but we don't have to follow it. Unless a cruise ship is going from one Florida port to another Florida port and never going more than 25 miles out into the ocean.
Then, I doubt Florida has any of those like cruise to nowhere type deals. New Jersey has those where it's like dinner cruises that go around, New York Harbor, or
they're going to have these test cruises that they have to do for the CDC are cruises to nowhere, but they will be cruising out into the international waters.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, well actually no, the cruise to nowheres do go out to international waters because once you hit that 25-mile mark, that's when the casino opens.
Right, but I think they actually have to go somewhere. So I think they actually sail to one of their private islands over in the Bahamas. They don't let anybody off, but they have to dock. That's a legal thing. If a ship is not flagged by the United States, it cannot go from U.S. port to U.S. port without going somewhere else first.
Okay. Interesting.
That's why the Alaskan cruises have been shut down for the entire year because Canada has blocked them for the entire year. And a cruise ship cannot go from Seattle up to Alaska and then back without visiting Canada.
Well, that's just
you can
stupid.
U.S. port to U.S. port to U.S. port, but somewhere along that cruise, at least one port has to be in a different country.
Okay, interesting.
It's a law passed 200 years ago to protect U.S. shipping.
Well, thank goodness, because we need to protect U.S. shipping. All right.
I thought that you were just going to head out to your bar. That's why you got up to go.
Well, I was fixing the camera so that when we did go to the bar, life would be okay, and you wouldn't just see, how to make your baby photo look better.
Well, I'm not going to the bar, but I'm listening.
So it is time to go to the bar, because after all this in-depth discussion with COVID, I think we all need a drink. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, Shaggy, before you start talking, you guys hear me? Okay, I can't hear you guys. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Shaggy's talking to himself. So while Shaggy was going to get his drink, I decided to get my food.
Okay, so I turned my microphone off because I couldn't tell if you guys, when I put my pack on standby, if you could hear me or not, and I didn't want the audience to hear me peeing if the standby switch didn't work. So
yes,
okay,
your pack did work. Shaggy, his sound is not working.
Okay, so all right, so Shaggy, since your sound is not working, I'm going to try to be your voice. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be your voice. We are going to make the most awesome drink ever right here, right now. Check this out. I'm at the bar. Okay, so what I'm making, I got to go to the fridge, get my bag of ice and my shaker because, bag of ice is always important. Shaker, make sure it's cool so that the liquor is nice and chilled when I'm ready to go. Let me check my ingredient list real quick. All right, I'm making a monkey nut sack thing or something. So what have I got here? I've got
Gin.
looks like, is that gin or is that vodka? Can't see. Rum?
I think it's Beefeater.
Gin. Gin. Okay. So we got gin. One shot, 1 ounce. 1, 2, 3. 2 2/3. 2/3 of gin, 2/3 ounce, 2/3 a cup, 2/3 ounce, 2/3 of something of gin. Whatever. Eyeball it. We'll go back to the fridge. Where am I going? Orange juice? Tang? Orange juice. Okay. Orange juice. Okay. Free tip, folks. If you're making alcoholic drinks, wait. 1 ounce? 1 ounce. Okay, well, I'm with you. If you're making alcoholic drinks, don't get the orange juice with the pulp. That's just a free tip from your Uncle Mike, unless you're going to put it in a blender. Because pulp and doing shots just doesn't work. It's kind of like eating oysters. Bitters? Grenadine? Grenadine, okay. 2 drops of grenadine. He's got a straw. Check it out. Because we don't have a dropper. So, poop, poop. There you go. Two drops. What's that? Gin? No, we already had gin. Scotch. Creme de menthe.
Absinthe.
Absinthe? Oh, another drop of oh, come on. Just take a swig off the bottle already. What is the point of just drops of this stuff? A drop of absinthe and a drop of grenadine, because that's really going to do anything. Put the lid on and shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it like you can. Shake it like you shake it, shake it. All right, go ahead. The ice, and there we go. Wow, that's a little drink. That's a lot of work for a little alcohol. No wonder why bartenders get paid so well and get tips. Get every last drop out of that, pal. I don't see any green from cream to mint. I don't see any red. I don't see, it looks like orange juice. Take a sip. Pinky out. Come on now. Taste it. Is it yummy? Yes. This will help me. No, it's not yummy at all. Oh, God, just drink it down. Don't even taste it. Ladies, free tip. Just swallow it if you don't want to taste it. That's what you got to do. And we're going to go back to the desk because go on. Come on now. Get back to the desk. Come on. Apparently, the button didn't work to there. There it is.
Okay, and that was our new segment, Mime Time.
Okay. So Mama
Luckily, I
Blair.
remember when you could have had absinthe on over. That's a
I
giant
didn't think
bottle.
anybody was watching. Otherwise, I might have refrained from my last little joke there. Well, damn. That's okay. I'm a Neanderthal.
it's
And
okay.
I'm proud of it.
I think that was probably one of the funniest things we've done, so it's all right, Mike. I think that's perfect. Next time we have an audio issue, we're just going to do that.
So, yeah, and so 15 minutes, this was before. So, yeah. I don't know. I think the bigger question here, and we won't go back to it too deep here, but the bigger question, I think, is does the state have the authority to even make that decision?
Yeah.
And Colin brought up a very good point about the port of registry. And I think that, that's the law that the cruise lines have to operate under. Now, the port itself is a business licensed in the state of Florida, so they may have to follow those laws that say you are not allowed to ask for verification. However, the TSA buffer zone, TSA is a federal organization, says, oh, no, to get past this point, you must declare anything from duty-free. Oh, and by the way,
no fruits and vegetables.
Show your vaccination card. Show your proof. So,
yeah.
Also, just in case anyone's wondering, if you're on the ship and someone comes up and punches you, what court has jurisdiction for that person attacking you? Answer is,
it's the law of the sea. You make them walk the plank and plunge to Davy Jones's locker. We know this.
The answer is, if you are cruising out of Florida, it is the federal court in Miami.
Colin knows because of all the drunken bar fights he's gotten into on cruises.
Let me tell you something. If I got to get into a drunken bar fight on a cruise, I want Colin there because I want Colin watching my back because the Blair clan is everywhere.
Yeah, that they are.
So he just has to. We getting into trouble on a cruise. All he has to do is be like, la la la. Next thing you know, 17 dozen Blairs are coming out of the woodwork like, we've got you.
It's the Blair conch. Yeah, he just has to.
We use Irish whistles. We don't use a conch.
So,
There you go.
Oh, all right.
So tell me, what was bad about that drink? Since now you got
honestly,
what was bad about it?
Honestly, I think it was the proportion of gin to juice. 1 2/3 ounce of gin to a single ounce of juice.
Yeah,
that's a lot of gin.
The drop of your absinthe and grenadine did nothing to cut that.
I think the reason why is because I think that's supposed to go in after you mix and put it in.
It's probably supposed to be a cup rinse, not something you put in and then.
Probably, I would assume. Yeah, the absinthe should be a cup rinse, yeah. But yeah, no. I mean, you're taking a full. I mean, they said fill the shaker full of ice and then pour that stuff. It's just not very much. You saw it. I mean, it was a full 2.5, 3 ounce shot, but it wasn't anything more than that.
It was it was more like it looked more like a low ball almost.
Yeah. I mean, that's a 3-ounce shot glass that I had. So
was it supposed to be a shot or was it supposed to be a drink?
It's supposed to be in a martini glass.
Oh,
so 3 ounces in a martini glass is actually about half full.
That don't make any sense at all.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a lot of gin. Now, maybe if I'd used my aviation gin, it wouldn't have been so bad as Beefeater gin. But who knows?
Oh, dude, you use the Beefeater is gin just by definition alone. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like the old man's spare tire in A Christmas Story. By definition, it's a tire. It's round. It was once made of rubber.
So
that's.
But anyway, so I may try it again. Try a couple of variations on making it. Not choose it 5 minutes before the show. But in general, it wasn't horrible. It was just pretty strong. I'm not a ginny person, but my wife sure is. So we'll see what she thinks of it. She loves the gin. So yesterday was Mother's Day, as we all know. Colin, hopefully everybody came over. Fanned Mama Blair with palm leaves and sang her poetry. And did all the good things. that she deserves. Mike, hopefully, you gave Kim flowers and told her thank you for being a good pet mom.
No, stop. Apparently, so what was it? May 5th what was yesterday? May 9th. May 8th is apparently basically Pet Mother's Day.
Oh, is it?
I don't know where this came from, because in the 13 years we've been in this house, I've never heard of such a thing, but yes.
So did you get in trouble on Saturday then for not doing something? Okay.
No.
I thought maybe it was one of those things where it was like, oh, this is the third anniversary of our second kiss in a car behind a Wendy's,
No. Sunday, actually, we went over to my parents' house and we brought bagels and pastries and basically did a brunch at their house.
Mm-hmm.
So that worked out.
We did a brunch here for my wife. Well, she cooked a brunch, and then everyone showed up because it's what she likes to do. She enjoys it. So, and she made some of the stuff ahead of time the night before, and then it's just throw it in a crock and warm it up. So we had biscuits and gravy and scrambled eggs and breakfast casserole and French toast casserole and sausage and bacon and 2 different types of melon.
Fucking flying out to you guys next holiday. You do a brunch. Jesus.
She didn't break out the waffle iron this year, but we did then also drink almost an entire bottle of triple sec magnum of champagne, and and almost all but what you saw in that gallon of orange juice.
Whoa. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And there was some tequila thrown in there for good measure, and a little bit of vodka.
Well, you need that.
Yeah. I prefer a screwdriver to a mimosa.
Was it Terramana tequila, though?
No, it was Jose Cuervo Blue Agave.
Okay.
Because it's what I had.
Okay.
It's like the time that Nate and I we went to a golf outing, and I had told him the night before, I'm like, so we're making screwdrivers, right? Because it's a charity golf outing, and the only reason you really go is to hit a white ball and drink. And he's like, sure, you get the orange juice, and I'll take care of the vodka. Oh, okay, deal. I grab a gallon of OJ on the way there, and he's like, oh, you were serious. Yeah, it's $30 for this thing. For this I'm getting a little pissed before our all-you-can-eat lunch buffet, and and so he's like, well, all I have is Grey Goose.
A charity golf outing for you was $30
a piece, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ! And that included a buffet lunch?
Yeah.
Wow. Things is cheaper out there. Holy crap!
Oh yeah, I think the expensive one's like $50, but this was a cheap one.
Our shelter, or back in the day when we used to do the golf outings for the animal rescue, it was $125 a person.
Oh no, I think the most expensive one I've ever seen advertised around here is like $100 a person.
And that included beer.
Oh no, we don't include beer. There's a beer cart and Jell-O shot girl that comes around on a cart.
Well, no, there's a beer cart, and one of the golf course workers drives around with that. But there's a keg at the turn.
Oh.
You got hamburgers and hot dogs at the turn, and dinner. But then we also had the 50-50. You could buy mulligans.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy strings, which basically that was the best thing ever, because you just take a spool or a thing of yarn, cut your strings at all assorted lengths, put them in an envelope, and for $5 you could buy a string to use at any time on the green. You open it up, and that's how far you can move your ball to the hole. So
Oh.
sometimes you had a string that's only like that. Sometimes you have a string that is actually move your ball further away.
I
Um,
like that
what else?
idea. I haven't heard of that one.
There are a couple other ones too, but like that's where we made the money. We like selling the little things, and we gave out awards for lowest score, lowest or highest score, longest
Closest to the
drive,
hole.
closest to the hole, etc. So
Yep.
yeah,
No.
$125 was what it.
Yeah. So that day
Wow.
we had Grey Goose screwdrivers
Okay,
because that
hey,
was what.
do what you got to do, man.
Yeah.
So we got a bit of TV news that I wanted to get your opinion on because you seem to be vested in this remake. And
I kind of am. Yeah.
So we've talked about the Night Court revival, which is
Yeah.
basically, I don't want to say it's a remake. It's I mistakenly called it that when I posted this. It's more of a
It's supposed to be
revival the same way that the Connors is a revival of
Yeah.
Roseanne.
yeah. It's supposed
So
to be
it's-
basically a continuation.
Yes. So we found our judge.
Yeah, we did, which is
You don't sound
interesting.
happy.
Well, it's just interesting. Let's put it that way, because originally she was just going to be the producer.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. Because anytime you take somebody who's known as one character, and then you put them into another role, especially another icon. This isn't an iconic role, but it's supposed to be the daughter of an iconic role. Then it's a make it or break it thing, right? They're either gonna nail it, or it's gonna be dog crap. I mean, there is no middle ground here, and they are gonna get exactly 3 episodes to make it. And if they aren't if they aren't in it and in it hard by then it's just not gonna work.
So I agree with you 100%. But here's what I think they have going for them. Her character on here is going to be nothing like Bernadette. She's not going to have that nasally voice that she always did. She's not going to be dressed as the pixie.
Right.
It's very similar to how Call Me Kat with Mayim Bialik
Oh my
has
god.
gone.
Okay, so I have to admit,
Uh-oh.
we watched all of half an episode of that.
Really?
We
watched
were like,
we watched them all.
we were like, can't take it. Can't take it. And we're like,
Okay, so
we have to turn this off. No, stop. This sucks. So we just, we
what
bailed.
makes the show good though? What makes the show good for us is Leslie Jordan.
Is that the little short guy?
Yeah.
Okay. I loved him in the Cool Kids.
Cool Kids?
Oh God, Fox, why? Why did you cancel that show? Why don't you know how to keep good shows on the air, Fox? What the hell is your problem? All right. That was one of the funniest shows that I had ever seen in a long time. That was Married with Children meets the Golden Girls. All right. That was that good. All right. And he was one of the reasons why. He was a great character on that show. And he's playing the same damn character, which is interesting because he's playing that character. And he was good, but he wasn't the star in the show for us,
Agreed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
At first I wasn't crazy about it either. Like I didn't like how she was pulling the Zach Morris breaking the fourth wall kind of thing. But we gave it a chance. We said we would. Kim and I said we'd watch it through the end of the season. We'll see how it goes. And it's not great, but it kind of found its niche. Like it knows where it belongs, and I think it was renewed for a second season. I don't.
It was.
Okay.
Because
So,
I saw that and I went, why? Who watches this crap? And
Well,
I now know the answer. I got it.
I'm
now.
planning to watch it starting with the second season. See, my problem is that I already watched and loved the original series it's based off of, which is Miranda.
Which was?
Miranda. It's a UK
Now,
show starring Miranda Hart.
I knew it.
Of course,
God
it's a UK show.
Damn.
Yeah, did you think they were going to have it based on a different US show?
I thought maybe it was an original show. God forbid.
No, it's based off of.
Why did it have to be British? Now I can't like it.
I can't. Well, Mike, I have to admit, I have now watched several seasons of the Great British Bake Off. We got hooked. Damn it, we got hooked.
What is happening to my world?
But we're kind of pissed because we found out that Matt Lucas was only on the most recent season, and that made us mad because we really like him. He's a funny little man. And we really want him on the rest of them. So if they could just go back and re-record all the other ones with him on it and Neil, that'd be great because those two are funny. The two girls at the beginning, they're okay. But I'm not a big fan of Mary Berry. She can go suck an egg. I don't really like her. So, anyway, that's way too far down the English rabbit hole for Mike. He is just writing, I hate the Brits. We kick their ass once we can do it again. Let's just get rid of their television.
So anyway, my point is, I already watched that. And see, in this first season, there was just, especially in the first couple episodes that I watched, there was too much of the original show in there. So I was like, I'm going to let them just have this season, get it figured out for the American audience. I'll come back for season 2 and see how the show is, as they really get into it as like The Office, okay? Season 1 of The Office, they were trying too hard to be just like the British Office, and it is not as good as seasons 2 and on when they got their own voice.
I don't know.
Now, see, admittedly, I never watched the whole. Surprise, surprise! I never watched much British TV to begin with. All right, my extent of British TV before I started hearing about it so much from like streaming services was Doctor Who, which is borderline British. I think that's more Americanized British at this point, and the IT Crowd. I knew The Office was a remake of something, but I never watched The Office when it was on originally. I went back and have watched episodes. But I know, like, other shows, if I've never watched the original, I guess I can't really compare it. So I'm judging it as its own show.
No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the show. I just, for me, it was like, I know I'm going to have this problem. So
Okay.
I'm not going to
Fair enough.
the show.
Fair enough.
I
Shaggy just hates cats.
don't hate cats. I don't hate cats. I don't know. Interestingly enough, there was rumors that there was going to be an American version of Doctor Who, especially when Russell
Why?
T Davies left the original Doctor Who to work with BBC International.
But there wasn't an American Doctor Who. It was a pilot.
That's right, on Sci-Fi, right?
Yeah, it was a pilot. No, I think it was on Fox. It was a pilot movie made for Fox, and it's Paul McGannis. He's still officially the 10th Doctor. I think it's Paul McGannis. Could have the name wrong. Anyway, yeah, it was an American.
McGann. It's just McGann.
McGann, that's it, McGann.
Yeah, it's just it was a television film. It wasn't it was a pilot movie, yeah, but it never got made any further than that.
So supposedly Jodie Whittaker, I was looking up to try and see about this other Doctor Who because I seem to remember I thought it was on Sci-Fi as well. Jodie Whittaker is going to be leaving.
Yeah.
At the end of 2020, this next season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it finally works out.
It's a 3-year average for doctors.
I will say I have not liked this run of Doctor Who. In fact, I've barely watched them. I watched them enough to know that I don't like them. But I think Jodie Whittaker was fine. I just wish that she was the Doctor during a better showrunner's time on the show. I'm really looking forward to Chibnall not doing Doctor Who. It's just way too topical, and they've had a Trump surrogate show up twice.
Oh yeah,
and it just gets after a while. It's just like this was a fun little show that maybe had a couple social things to say every so often in a more broad way of doing it, but this one is just like Twitter topic of the week.
Yeah, we took a really hard tangent from the Night Court continuation. We didn't. Mike started talking about other Big Bang. We didn't even get to. I don't even think that we really mentioned that. That John Larroquette is going to be returning to Night Court. He's going to be coming back to play Prosecutor Dan Fielding.
And I think he's the only one from the original show that is still alive, let alone coming back. No, Marsha Warfield is still alive.
Yeah.
She's on 911.
She could come back. Yeah,
she does not look anything like herself.
She's a recurring character. She's not a series regular. So she could very, very easily do both.
Well, very easy. I'm just saying she's still around. She's still acting. Yes. She's unrecognizable.
Is it? Marky Post is still alive.
Marky Post is still alive. She's the only other one that I'm aware of. Like Bull is dead, right?
Is
the actor who played Bull? Harry
Mac is still alive.
Who was Mac?
Charles Robinson, the court clerk. The guy with the colorful sweaters before, or I don't know if it was before.
I don't remember him.
Mac Robinson.
Sure.
How can you not remember Mac?
Because I barely remember the show, but okay.
Okay. And Bull's not dead.
Bull is not dead.
He's 78, but he's not dead.
No, he still enjoys talking about it. Actually, he when Harry died, he had a very moving tribute. Actually, it was very good.
Who the hell am I thinking of? Who was I thinking of that's dead?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think John Aston is still even alive, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I don't think he's.
I don't think Buddy is going to be making a reprise because that would be a really weird grandpa.
Last I heard, John Aston is.
He's 91.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's mentally there still.
Mel Torme, is Mel still around? Nope,
no,
he died. He died in 99. Darn, that would be great if that would have been great. Yeah, Marsha Warfield's still around. Richard Mall is still around. Oh, yeah, we all know Selma died. Florence died. Ellen Foley, Billy. I wonder, is Billy still alive? Billy is still alive. Yep. She's
still kind of mad about being fired, but
yeah.
Right, so
Karen Austin, the original court clerk.
Nope. That is absolutely not going to happen. That will never happen. I am not going to admit I was wrong all along and love the Brits. I will do that the day that you send me a picture of the Blair compound with a Trump flag up on a flagpole. How about that?
Wait, I just found another. Actually, I just thought of two recurring characters that could come into Night Court. Yakov Smirnoff.
Yes.
Brent Spiner.
No.
Come on. Brent Spiner. That was the role that made Brent Spiner.
No. Okay,
how great would that
be?
Do
you remember how? So did we still haven't said the name of who's coming on as the judge here?
Well, you said it was Bernadette, that they weren't going to dress her up like Bernadette.
Yeah, so it's Melissa Rauch, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing what she'll do with it, because I think
it'll be interesting. I think it'll probably get a full season, but this is CBS. This
CBS also.
Yeah,
they have a lot of stuff ending, right?
Well, yeah,
but Mom is ending.
Mom's ending, but they picked up Magnum PI.
Gone. MacGyver is ending.
Yeah,
they have one of the CSIs is ending.
New Orleans is ending.
This is ending.
Yeah, it needs to.
They do have holes in their schedule. This could easily fill. I could see this slotting in where Mom was.
It might, but it's gonna
I think it's a similar kind of audience. I could see that audience transitioning.
It could, but it's like I said, it's gonna have to knock it out of the park, and it's gonna have to keep it there because it's easy to hit it. It's easy to hit it on name recognition for episodes 1 and 2. All right.
So
you got a couple of big names,
problem.
But you got to maintain.
Okay, and that's exactly where you're going. This is where the Connors. Everybody is basing the success of or the potential success of these revivals off of the Connors, because arguably that's been the most successful revival.
Yeah.
Thus far.
Yep.
Even though you had a transition there when Roseanne left.
Mm-hmm.
That was all the original cast.
Yeah.
And it just picked up years later. Right? You can't do that. You're not doing that with this revival.
Yeah.
Even on Netflix, like Fuller House, it was the original cast. So that revival worked.
Well, yeah.
But the thing about Night Court is Night Court itself already went through so many cast members. It's not a show that sat there for so many years with the same cast. They went through many different bailiffs, many different public defenders.
Well, they went through bailiffs because they died. They didn't have a choice on bailiffs.
Only have Larroquette from the original cast.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
So you have Larroquette. So as you said earlier, a lot of it comes down to, does she work as the judge? But the thing is, this show, Night Court, was always more about the guest stars of the week than it ever was the show itself.
I don't know. It had a great story every week. It wasn't episodic, right? It was very much a self-contained. Mm-hmm. So much like the Orville, all right, you were entertained for an hour, all right, but you didn't have to watch last week's to get this week's, all right, very often. So they didn't have a whole lot of two-parters.
I'm going to say that I think you're both correct. The answer is in the middle.
I think we're agreeing with each other.
It wasn't episodic. It wasn't episodic, but that only worked because you had great guest stars every week that helped the story build.
But
so,
I mean, and the story
it's going to come down to how well the new cast gels, I think.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. But I think
if they don't have that same kind of chemistry that the original cast had, even through all of its iterations, I think they're screwed. I mean, one and done.
The amazing thing, and I'm going to put this on Larroquette actually, is Larroquette is great at making it appear as if a cast gels, even if they don't. I mean, and for me, it's actually going to be hard to not see him as Jenkins from The Librarians now, because he did such a great job in that show. He is the wise old sage mentor from The Librarians now. Not, he was the sexist, womanizing, funny guy in Night Court, and then he moved into this mature, saged, adult, just.
But wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're right. He was the sexist. Always.
Yes. I don't know how they're going to get away with that now.
How is his character going to...
You can't get away with that. You cannot get away with half the jokes they did.
I know.
Unless,
I was watching it recently, this show would not work. Yeah.
Unless you say, okay, we're going to go counterculture, and we're going to just do this head on, and we're going to make it about doing this, because these people actually do exist in the real world.
Nope. CBS is not going to do that.
I don't think they will either.
Opportunity to
have some fun and to have a laugh, because that's what the original Night Court did.
But don't forget that Dan himself was changing at the end of the show.
Well, yeah, he changed, but that's only because, Phil died. He was running the Phil Foundation at the end.
Exactly. Phil died. There was the Phil Foundation. So by the end of the show, Dan's character, Dan Fielding himself, was changing. So if they don't try to reset the character, but continue with the character as if that's the same character this many years later.
Wait a second. I just thought of something. Dan quit. Dan quit at the end of the show. He quit to go after Christine in D.C.
Well, I think in general they're making a mistake.
They're forgetting about the last show.
No, I think the show would be better if Harry Stone's daughter was not coming back to be the judge.
If she was the prosecutor or the defense attorney?
If she was the prosecutor or the defense attorney makes more sense. A daughter of a wacky guy with a wacky grandfather coming back as a wacky public defender.
Well, yeah, Mike, you're admittedly probably not enjoying this conversation because I just recently rewatched the entire show, so all this is fresh in my memory. And Colin's a walking library.
Mind.
So, but I mean, we have to
say Dan Fielding as the judge would be a better show.
Well, that's what he wanted all along, but. You have to remember, what's the likelihood of Harry's daughter getting the bench? Because the only reason that Harry got the bench was because he was there to answer the phone.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It makes better sense to have Fielding as the judge.
Yeah, and for those of you that aren't following along with what we're talking about, good luck trying to do that, because I don't know of any streaming service, apart from paying for it on Amazon, where you're going to find the complete series of Night Court, because they just didn't make it available. But if you can find it, which there are ways to find it, it's worth watching. Just like a new show that I found, which I had asked either one of you guys if you had happened to find it, and this is totally irreverent comedy, by the way, is Paradise PD. It's an animated film or animated series on Netflix. It's been going for 3 seasons now, and it's made by the same people who made it was a park show. I forget what it's called. So I'll find that out here though. But yeah, I
will point out the time.
Yeah, I know we're gonna.
Yeah, we gotta do these reviews, even though. Yeah,
Brickleberry Park is what it is. Yeah, we need to get back to that. So anyway, but we'll get to that in a second. So every show we review 2 movies, That the random number generator help be reformed and married. No, I don't think so. That's not Dan Fielding.
He might well be. He's going to come back as a priest.
Oh my God, that would no. So every show we review 2 movies. On this week's agenda, it was Code 8 and Babysitter Killer Queen, which is a sequel to Babysitter, which was a film that we reviewed previously. So we didn't break our own rule. We actually watched the sequel after we watched the original movie. So these 2 films, Code 8, that was available on Amazon, I believe, and Babysitter.
They were both Netflix.
They were both
Netflix originals, actually.
Yeah.
Ironically, it wound up. Well, no, I don't want to say because it was a spoiler, but it wound up being a double feature. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Didn't it?
I couldn't tell you because I didn't look that far into the cast. But probably.
Yeah.
Okay. I just watched.
Go on. Go. Just go.
Okay, so we're gonna cover this, and we will let Mike go first so that he can explain how Code 8, which is what we'll cover first, how it was in his mind. Remember, we rank these from puke to shnikes.
All right, so Code 8, listen. Y'all know that I do the bullet point reviews on these movies, right? And usually the more problems I have with a movie, the more bullet points I have. I don't have a whole lot on this one. Based on the opening sequence, this movie pretty much looks like it's going to be a cross between Captain America Civil War, The Gifted, and maybe New Jack City. The Code 8 Guardians, they're robots, right? They look an awful lot like the robots from Chappie. So I'm wondering if they just bought the CGI files at auction to use them. They pulled the criminals at one point trying to avoid the Guardians overhead. They duck and they pulled a Johnny Dangerously to avoid capture. And if you don't know what that is, just stop right now. I've never wanted to hit a child before, but damn it, go watch Johnny Dangerously. Find it. You must. When Stephen Amell is robbing the bank, did anybody else catch on that he was using his Arrow voice? You have failed this city. Empty the vault. I did not, and that's the extent of my nose. Because this was actually a pretty good movie. Then, while watching the credits, I find out that we broke one of our cardinal rules with this movie. This movie was funded by an Indiegogo campaign. Not much different, not much better than a Kickstarter. But that just made me more impressed with this movie. So, puke to shnikes. Listen, are there plot holes? Maybe. Is the movie somewhat predictable? Affirmative. But I'm going to go down the path of Colin's thinking on this one. This is not a movie that I normally would have tried to watch. But it did turn into a movie that I could very easily recommend to others to watch. Therefore, I'm giving this a shnikes.
Oh, wow. All right. Colin has...
bonus points because there were no Brits in it.
The Canadians.
All right. I will let Colin go next. As he wipes the barbecue sauce.
Yeah. Well, it's pork chops, lamb chops. So yes, as Mike said, I just noticed that this was an Indiegogo, and I was like, "Oops, Indiegogo." But hey, you know, some of them have to be good, and this one was good. So, this is the universe is very similar to something that is in Larry Correia's Hard Magic series. Yeah, a world where it isn't just that there's some people with superpowers. There's an entire class of people who have powers. Some have electricity powers, and some have fetching powers, and some people have some healing powers. So it's that genre of creating classes of people who are somewhat put under the heel. It's taking it's like the X-Men. Okay, it's taking people of color and twisting them into a different genre so that you can re-examine the issues from a different context. Instead of it's difficult as a white person to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. But if you turn things around so that skin color has nothing to do with the situation, it's helpful sometimes. So I like this as the genre. The only problem I'd say I have with the plot is there are these, as Mike said, chappy type bots that didn't really seem to have any actual purpose. At no time was there anything said about these. Are these bots good? Are they bad for society? They just were. I'm assuming that they were just kind of there more for production reasons, that they could have less people and just more special effects to put in to reduce the number of people they had to pay. I don't know. That's just my guess, but. As going by my usual thing, and just like Mike said, this was a movie that was supposed to be not that good. It was made on Indiegogo. It was much better than so many other much higher funded movies we've seen. So yeah, I'm going to go with Mike and put it at a Schneikes.
All right. And for me, so I watched this one last night. I was interested in this one because of the cast, right? So, the moment I see, the Amell cousins in it, I'm like, ooh, yeah, I wonder if there'll be any salmon ladder scenes in it because, that's what he does, right? Shirtless salmon ladder, they had to have written that into the contract somewhere. Spoiler alert, no. Sorry, ladies, you won't be seeing that here. But if you like a run-and-gun action film, then you will see it. Now, here's something to understand. The description of this film says heist. Very loose with that description. It has a heist in it. It's not a heist film. All right? They list that as one of the categories for this. It's not a heist movie. All right? It is the same old classic trope of, good kid in a bad situation decides to, turn to, the dark side in order to save his mom, and so then that gets him into more trouble. But overall, yeah, I actually didn't know until you guys said that this was an Indiegogo campaign film. It seemed like something that would be a run-of-the-mill regular film because I just thought the acting, the script, and the effects and everything were that good. So good job for fooling me. All right. I thought, yeah, everything just gelled pretty well for this. Nothing was overly done. Nothing was really too terrible about it. They left things open. Interestingly enough, reading the trivia on this in IMDb, it looks like there is supposed to be a series of shorts, episodes starring the Amell cousins after this, following up on this as a short series with these characters. It's aimed at that platform that's only for mobile phones. So, and that was in 2019 that they inked that deal. Who knows whether it ever actually happened. But yeah, this was very much. I think probably both movies that Mike and Colin were thinking about was Push with Chris Evans in it, right? So you end up with these two with these people with different abilities, and they but they have to hide their abilities, and so yeah. I really liked Push, so I really like this movie. Now, I'm really on the fence here. I don't know that I'm going to give it a Schneikes because I don't think that it was so great that I'm just going to rush out and watch it again, or that I'm going to tell that many of my friends to watch it, because it is pretty gory. There's some pretty substantial gore scenes in this one. Not as much as the next film we're going to talk about, but it's a little graphic here. So I think I'm just going to give it a strong smile and leave it at that. But overall, good movie, good quality. If this is what Indiegogo can produce, then maybe eventually we'll be able to lighten up our standards and allow some of those films in. Sorry, I ruined the trifecta.
No, it's still 3 good reviews.
So, next up, The Babysitter Killer Queen. And we'll go back to Mike.
Well, okay, so before is this gonna pop up? I don't know. So before we get to that, we had somebody write in.
Paradise PD is
Paradise
way
PD.
over the top and good.
And I'm not sure what that was in response to.
Okay.
When
clappy hands?
Sent the clappy hands, which is the first time emoji has come across, and get out of my window already. Get out of here. I don't like that. The movie with the Amell cousins, it's Code 8 on Netflix.
Yep.
Okay. So, all right. So now you can go on. Babysitter 2, Killer Queen. Okay. Listen. So this, well, we'll get to it in a minute. So high school, here's a free tip. High school is going to be a nightmare if you show up wearing a corduroy suit. This chick's wearing a nightgown to school and telling everybody she's pregnant. The kid's father, the main kid's father, I really wish he would have died in the first film. I feel bad saying that, but I must say it. Now, the whole scene talking about all the medications that high school kids are on and why they're on it, from what I know, talking to people who have children in the school system, that's pretty accurate. And that's a sad commentary on our time, people. Quote, unquote, you're my best friend. These are words that no guy wants to hear come from a female's mouth as they are trying to hook up with them. Awesome. They're at Lake Havasu in Arizona. And they just threw a large barge reference in. What? And, of course, bitch got a star attack. Of course, older than the houseboat. Double cross, spoiler alert, and all the originals from the first one are back. Here we go. This is where, so Phoebe says she came here for a reason. She part of the cult of the murder toilet, hunting down the hellspawn. What the hell is going on here? Sonya gets hit by the car. She takes a second to tell the guy, turn off your brights, asshole. She's getting murdered by a car, and she's taking a second to tell him to turn off his high beams. That's badass right there. How's the Outback get stuck high-wheeling a tire? What happened to wheels that slip to the wheels that grip? This is bad advertising for Subaru. Who authorized this? They should be fired. Snake, danger noodle, coming up my pants leg. No, nay, nope. this is where the double feature comes in, and I got to ask the question: does Robbie Amell own a shirt? And I like the baby dolphin reference there. How she called it because he shaved, like a baby dolphin. The boat's name is Jenny. They're trying to figure out a numeric code to start the boat. If that code ain't 8675309, I'm going to be very, very disappointed. Spoiler alert. I was not disappointed. It's always a good thing when you get the golden shower out of the way on the first date, right? Sorry, I'll see myself out. If they do the damn dance to Apache, the Fresh Prince dance that comes on, and nope, they're going to start kissing it. Why is there a dance sequence for no goddamn reason in the middle of this movie? Fact check to my genius co-hosts who are off screen right now. Will an electric car roll if it is connected to a charger? I would think that would be a very simple safety to have in place, and if not, it should be. So then we get to the end, and without spoiling it, I'm going to spoil it by telling you that we have a once bitten type moment. And just stop with the dancing. And why is he still wearing corduroy to school? Listen, I'm going to give this one a laugh. I gave the original a chuckle for a reference, and this is one of the few sequels that I can think of since Aliens that was better than the original, even if it was a little predictable, and even if it did have a dance sequence.
All right. I love your even ifs. All right, Colin, you're next.
Okay. So the first The Babysitter was very much like Home Alone, where you have a boy, older than Kevin, but still, you have a boy in his house, and he has bad guys and women who are chasing him, and you get lots of slapstick violence going on. Difference is, in Home Alone, no one actually gets killed. In The Babysitter, everybody gets killed. So it's not just slapstick, it's actual gruesome blood spraying out of necks type thing. Okay? So that was The Babysitter. Here's the sequel. So continuing the Home Alone parallels here. So the first one, you have Home Alone in his house. This time, Home Alone 2, he goes out of his house, goes to New York. This one, he goes out of his home and goes to a lake in the middle of nowhere. And just like Home Alone 2, the original bad guys show back up. And there's some other new bad guys, but they're almost non-existent once the actual mayhem starts. And in fact, they are totally non-existent. It's just, I gave the original The Babysitter a smirk. I felt this one was very much like the original one, so I'm going to keep it to a smirk.
All right. Okay. I guess that means it's my turn. So, there we go. This one I watched today. I had it on while I was working, so I won't say my attention was 100%. So luckily, I think I tuned out a little bit during the dance sequence. I didn't have to endure it as much as Mike, but I also was thinking, why? Why do we don't need this. Don't need this at all. but also, like Mike, I was thinking he deserves to have a super wedgie for wearing a corduroy suit. But I have to admit, I laughed several times during this movie. Once you start getting into the blood cult side of things, I don't find as much humor in it. But the lead up to the blood cult side of things, which is not a phrase I thought I'd be saying very often, it wasn't. But things like this scene, some have gonorrhea, some of them are more bipolar than Kanye West. All right, a lot of things that counselor/nurse said were funny. All right, that was some of the funniest stuff I've seen. And the other funny thing, to Mike's point, is Stephen Amell doesn't seem to own a shirt. And when I saw this scene, I thought, how is that name tag staying on there? Because they either work by magnets or by a pin. I'm not thinking they issued him double-sided tape every day, because that's not what minimum wage jobs do.
He's obviously waxed. He just left wax on there.
I guess, maybe, but it just seems a bit much. The show was good. The show was interesting. It had some nifty plot devices, I'll call them, during it. So I thought that it was overall, like Mike said, it was just as good, if not better, than the original. So, yes, I will give this one a smile. I thought it was a good show. I thought it was mildly entertaining. But again, it's one of the goriest shows I have probably ever seen. And while the black guy did not get killed first, he did get killed in a very gruesome way. And I've never seen an eyeball out of an eye socket as horrifying as that scene. That was very disturbing. All right. So please put a safety chain on your antler chandeliers, for God's sakes. All right. Be responsible. That's the least you can do as a homeowner. Otherwise, I don't know what your insurance premiums are going to be possibly like.
Okay, so we have another potential answer here as to how the thing is stuck on there, which kind of relates to my answer.
Velcro.
So if he had that one spot not waxed,
oh, okay,
and the hook side, right?
Yep.
So maybe, so then later on, he said clapping hands was so. I said nope. Couldn't tell my kids that was internet applause. That's what it was. But yeah, I mean, overall, I don't think we had bad movies. That being said, I probably just jinxed us for this week. So we got 1 to 38. God help.
1 to 38. Let us see. What do the gods of randomness think we should be watching? 29.
Okay. Why do I think we've watched this one before? Oh, no, video unavailable. Where did that come from? Sorry, it's a YouTube video, MI5, that is no longer available.
Really?
They got caught.
It's like sponsored by YouTube Movies. I can't imagine that they took it down. That's really weird.
Let me see. No, I'm sorry. The video is marked as private. So I'll just look real quick. MI5. No, buy or rent.
Okay, so they must have just taken it off of their list then. Huh. Well, that sucks. All right. All right, then 37.
This one I know is still available. This one will be available to the end of time. And this is one that we actually talked about possibly pushing up on Netflix yesterday.
Yesterday?
Awesome. I was just thinking I was going to try and push this one through on you anyway. Yes, this is Jennifer Gardner and somebody else who I don't care. Plus, the one daughter is the guy's the new chick in Baby Sue.
Okay, so Jennifer Garner,
Jennifer
Edgar
Garner and her
Ramirez,
husband.
and Jenna Ortega.
Yes.
So a mom and dad who usually say no decide to say yes to their kids' wild requests with a few ground rules on a whirlwind day of fun and adventure. Huh. Okay, that will be interesting. So yes day. All right.
All right, and I will get a link to that one put up because right now I don't have a link to it. But
And 9.
Number 9. Unavailable in our location. Thank God, because it's a UK raunch comedy, you bastards.
What was it called? The In-Betweeners.
The In-Betweeners. Trying to sneak some British stuff in on me.
Well, it was a TV series. I can't believe it was also a movie. But okay. 4 high school friends are not cool or popular, but not total dorks either. Okay. All right. 23.
Oh, dear Lord. This one is available on Amazon. It's called The Turkey Bowl. A former high school quarterback is lured back to his small hometown to finish a legendary snowed-out football game. This is a 2019 version of Best of Times. That's what it sounds like.
It sure seems like it, yeah. Starring no one important ever.
So Alan Richson, he played the love interest in Two Broke Girls. Baxter, Ryan Hansen, he played one of the guys in one of the flunkies in Breaking Bad. Plus, he played the father of Christie's children in Mom. So yeah, basically nobody. Okay, the Turkey Bowl, the Turkey Bowl, the Turkey Bowl. That's the theme song. The Turkey Bowl.
So, all right.
Yeah, I want to watch the credits to see if they actually credit on. Hey, I have a request for you two.
Yep.
It's an add-on.
Mm-hmm.
But feel free to bail out because it is foreign, even though it isn't English.
It's Swedish. No, what is it?
So there is a 36-minute long movie that premiered on YouTube from Viva La Dirt League. It was actually funded by Kickstarter. It's called Balin's Route. It's BAELIN''S_ROUTE. It's on YouTube.
Okay. Okay, and what's the
I think it'd be
wanna-
interesting to discuss, because in conjunction with all the other stuff, this is an actual active YouTube channel, very popular, Viva La Dirt League, making their first long-form thing. I think it's beautiful and pretty well done. I'd like to discuss, anyway, I think it'd be funny. It'd be interesting to talk about next week.
Okay.
Okay, so put the link in the white sheet. We'll
We'll
take a look at it. All right. So that is another fun-filled show of PTR Radio, and that means that we are just about wrapped for the night. As soon as I find the stupid song, so that it doesn't blast my damn ears out when I play it. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Don't forget, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everybody that you know about the show. PTRradio.com is the website, or just check us out on just about any social media that you can think of at PTR Radio. And, we will be twitching at some time. We still have to figure out what we're going to twitch, but maybe, just maybe, it might be a racing game. And if so, we might need you to join in. You never know when it's going to be unless you join us on social media. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever, follow us, and that way you'll know when we're going to do this. So, I'm getting better. I'm really, not wrecking the car nearly as much. So that's good. I figure a flip a race is pretty good. I think that's pro material right there. So, with that said, though, really, I mean, if you're not rubbing, you're not racing. That's what they say. I hear a lot. According to Mike. Mike's the NASCAR fan. So
I am.
All I know is the 2 sugar packets thing. That's all I, paid attention to. So.
But I can't get it on because I'm harder than a diamond in an ice storm right now. That we didn't even talk about it. And so the older son from Talladega Nights killed himself a couple weeks ago.
Oh no.
And I feel horrible about it because it was just before Walker, Texas Ranger, is getting a reboot.
Yeah, I saw that.
His character was Walker. Little brother Texas Ranger is still weeping.
Mm. Life's tough.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, continuing on. Don't forget to check us out. We do appreciate everybody listening, tuning in, and playing along with the show. Mike will tell you about Brewed with Amarillo, and Miller Lite. That's the sponsors for the 8-man studios tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. With that, I think we're about done. I'm Shaggy. He's Colin. If you didn't hear that, he's Colin.
I'm Mike the 8-man.
Stick a fork in us, folks. We are done. Later.